Hello.
We have a few questions regarding your application. We have received your form earlier this academic year. As you know, you were asked to fill in this form prior to your research here.
You're asked to submit this application because we need to protect you and your participants, as there is a higher risk research involving human participants and their data. It places a high value on the knowledge, expertise and integrity of its members and their ability to conduct research to high standards of scholarship and ethics.
The research ethics clearance procedures have been established to ensure that the university is meeting its obligations as a responsible institution. We are sure that as a member of the university, you would take your responsibilities and obligations very seriously, and that your project involving human participants is conducted according to the established principles and good practice in your field, and in accordance, where appropriate, with legal requirements.
Yes, I understand that. Thank you for your time. Can I take some notes?
Yes, of course. What is the full title of your research?
The full title of my research is 100 Stories Left to Tell, and more precisely, how women navigate their lives after trauma.
On that note, we see that the number of the participants stated in the application is not 100. Why don't you change the title?
Initially, I wanted to include 100 women, ask organizations and NGOs to include women that have experienced domestic violence, abuse, and interpersonal trauma and institutional trauma. But then I realized that I'm not trained or qualified to do that, which means that I cannot recruit women that are by definition considered vulnerable. Therefore, I'm recruiting 20 to 25 women from my direct circle that are not considered by definition vulnerable. However, I'm keeping the title because this project might continue in the future.
Have you had any other experience in research ethics or integrity?
I did, yes. I successfully passed the adult safeguarding training in OSAB.
That's good. Can you now give us a summary of your research?
Yes, I will. 100 Stories Left to Tell embraces women empowerment and solidarity. I am focusing on how women navigate their lives after trauma. I want to question, why do people have a narrow assessment of what it means to be traumatized? And I realize that many people, as soon as we hear that someone has experiencing something traumatic, we distance ourselves and we feel awkward and uncomfortable, as if trauma is something that will not experience in the future. Some to a larger extent, some to a smaller extent. I am recruiting 20 to 25 women, conduct one-to-one conversations and have their identifiable photographs taken. In this way, I will create a visual representation of how women navigate their lives. I will not focus on trauma itself. I will focus on how they navigate their lives. And this will be part of the final exhibition, and everything will be done with a consent form. The aim and the objective of the project is first to question, why do people have a narrow assessment of what it means to be traumatized, and second, I want to create a non-clinical, culturally sensitive method of peer support.
Why are these stories important?
Trauma stories are very important because they define how humanity works, and they inspire actions, and they provoke reactions, and they stretch one's sensibility. Most importantly, they reevaluate strengths and indicate the capabilities of each person.
Will you ask them specific questions regarding their trauma?
You have to understand, as I said before, that I will be conducting one-to-one conversations, and they will be casual. And every trauma story is different, and every woman experiences trauma differently. So the questions will vary. I will not follow a specific protocol if this is the question. But there will be some questions for sure that will be part of the project.
Such as?
For instance, I will ask them what is their traumatic experience, why does it comply with the project, and I will ask them how did it define them, how did they rise stronger after that, and so on and so forth.
How will consent be given?
Well, consent will be given in a written document, but I will explain orally to the participants everything, and they will have a chance to read the document and ask any questions.
You mentioned that these women are women of your direct circle. Don't you think they will feel pressured to be part of the project because of that?
One might say that this is true, but on the other hand, because they are part of my direct circle, they can choose to leave and opt out from the project anytime they want. You have to understand that these women are not considered vulnerable or adults at risk, and their stories are familiar to me, and they're women that have already talked about their trauma publicly, and one way or another they have contributed to the development of my project by giving me opinion and advice.
Will you explain to the participants the procedure before your one-to-one conversations?
Yes, I will. I will explain everything, that the identifiable photographs will be taken. I will send the consent form via email before our meeting, and I will give them a chance to read it and then conduct the one-to-one conversations.
You stated somewhere that there is no ethical committee in Cyprus. I think this is more like a I don't know any, I won't look for any approach. Cyprus has a very well-established education system. It is hard to believe that there is no ethical committee that deals with your project.
Well, to be honest, there is one ethics committee in Cyprus, and that's the bioethics committee, and they mostly deal with biomedical research, clinical trials, and medical devices. They do not deal with projects of social sciences and psychological projects, or art-based projects for that matter. So that's true. There are not any equivalent ethics committee in Cyprus. However, following your response, and because I respect my institution's obligations, I emailed the president of the committee, and I asked for a clearance for the project, for the ethics, for an ethics approval. And he said he advised to send my protocol, my methodology, pay the government of Cyprus €50 for an opinion whether this could be granted a review or not. However, because I have already talked with academics that are dealing with social sciences and art-based projects, I know that this is a dead end, because usually you just go through this procedure and that's pretty much it. They don't do much about it. The problem is that Cyprus does not take ethics as seriously as they should, and this is not a matter of I don't know any and I won't look for any. This is a matter of politics in Cyprus.
There needs to be a much greater sense of the possibilities of secondary trauma to you. Hence, we take ethics very seriously. Uncovering of illegalities, for instance. What would you do if someone reveals a case of rape?
in my consent form, I will ask all participants to include a member of their family, of their close family, and if a case like this comes up in a conversation, then I will have to inform the closest person. This again will be signed, so they will know that if something very sensitive appears in our conversations, I will have to go to a person that they assigned for in the consent form. However, these women are women that are not considered vulnerable by definition. These trauma stories are not trauma stories about rape, and the stories are familiar to me. I'm not trained or qualified to deal with crises, with any crisis about rape stories, but I will follow the rules and regulations of the Research and Integrity Committee and follow a specific safeguarding training that will help me improve that.
I think we covered what we need. We will have to review everything and we will get back to you.
Thank you for your time.
Oh, that's it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.